Welcome, my name's Colleen, and in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet a tea towel topper. Now, I've done this before, and a lot of you have watched it, so thank you so much for doing that. But what we're going to do in this one, same idea, same method, but we're going to show you a different view. So my videographer, May, is going to stand behind me so that you can see the crochet stitches that I do and all the other work that I do a little bit easier. And so hopefully that will help out. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the materials that we need. The first thing you need is a tea towel. And there's a number of them that you can find. You can get them at any of the grocery stores, usually have some tea towels. You can get them at something like the Bay, those kind of things. But you'll just find them, and then sometimes there's ones that are seasonal, and so you just look for the tea towel. So you're going to need a tea towel. Now, the next thing you're going to need is a large pair of scissors. And that's so that you can cut your tea towel. These are the ones that I use when I'm sewing, so that's going to help out. I'm also going to need a small pair of scissors just to snip threads close. That's going to help out as well. I'm going to need some buttons. Now, you can either use a 3/4 inch or a 7/8 inch. Both will work. And I often will actually get the crocheting done before I decide which button I'm going to use, because it depends on what's going to look best. So those are the buttons. We're going to need some thread and a needle to sew the buttons on. Now the crochet part, we're going to use some, this is huge, some Bernat Handicrafters. So I tend to buy it in a big ball, because if you buy them in small balls, then sometimes you don't have enough to do more than one. So I find this works really well. I know that I purchased this at Walmart. I know you can get things like that at Michael's as well. So that's that. I'm going to need something to crochet with. So there's the crochet hook. Now this is the Clover version, and it's a 4.0 millimeters, or it's a size G is the letter that it comes with. So that's that. I really like the Clover. They're ergonomic and really, really helpful. We're going to have to finish some ends and weave them in. So I've got these 2 darting needles, and I do like the ones with the bent tips. I find it's easier to get in when you're weaving things in. And then last but not least, we're going to have something to make holes. So this first thing is called an awl. AWL is how it's spelled. You can get this at Rona, and it's great. I love it. I've done other things, but this is the best. It is incredibly sharp, and you do have to be careful, because if you bleed, then it's going to get on the towel. So we don't want that. But you just have to be careful using it. So that's one item. The other thing you can use is a knitting needle, and you just have to make sure that the end is sharp. So you wouldn't be able to use a bamboo knitting needle. So it would definitely have to be something metal. Same idea. So this is very sharp needle. This is one from the Mindful collection. But it is sharp. I know Xiaogu would work as well. So those are the materials that you need. So let's get started. Now we need to take a look at the tea towels before we figure out how we're going to cut them. So let's take a look at this tea towel. Now it doesn't really have a top and a bottom to it. So it wouldn't matter which end was up. And so because of that, I could take this tea towel and cut it directly in half. And then I would be able to do the work on each half. So that's the first one. Now, sometimes you get tea towels where there is some printing on one end and no printing on the other, but there is definitely what they call a directionality. So see how the carrot's going up? You know, you've got an avocado facing up. So this one, you couldn't just cut it in half, because everything here would be upside down. So if that's the case, then you have to treat it a little differently. And I'll explain that when I go to cut something. This one was actually quite tricky, and I'm just going to tell you this so that you don't get caught. So this came with 2 of these towels, and both sides that they were showing you were this. And I thought, oh, great, they've done it so that don't have to worry about directionality. But then when you cut the towels apart, then you can see that you have to have the chickens all facing up. So even though they had the 2 towels and you thought it was going to be, you didn't have to worry about it, you would, and you'd have to deal with this differently. So that's that. Now, the other thing is sometimes they're brilliant and they get it right. So if you take a look at this one, and this is just a Christmas towel that I had purchased. So there are the words the right way. And so I would cut it that way. And so then when you go this way, take a look. It's perfect. So now even when you cut it in half and cut it up here and start working on there, it's going to be the right direction. So I was impressed with this. There were 2 tea towels. It was about $6 or $7 at Walmart. And I thought that is fantastic. So you just first of all have to worry about the directionality of the tea towel. So I'm going to take a look at this tea towel because I'm going to show you what you do if you have to change up the direction of it. And this I definitely do. So the first thing that I want to do is go to the very top of the tea towel, and I'm going to cut off this part. I'm just going to cut it straight across the seam because hopefully they sewed it up nicely. And so by doing that, then before you cut the things in half, you've actually taken out that bit. It's going to make the 2 towels look a little bit more even. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So let me just do that quickly. Get my scissors going. So all I'm doing is cutting it right by where that is. I know I'm taking off the lovely little Cuisinart sign, but that's okay. And I'm just going to cut it all the way down here until I get to the end. All right, so I've got that part done. Now what I can do is if I put these ends like this. Now, the one that I just cut this off isn't going to be that much shorter. You have to decide. Do you want to just do that and not worry about it? Because you're going to have to put a hem at the bottom. On this side of this one, you're going to have to put a hem. To me, it's not that different. It would make a 1/2 inch difference. So what I would just do is get those parts even. I'm going to fold it with my hand, and then I'm just going to cut it straight across this way. And I hold my hand down, and the reason why I do that is so that nothing shifts while I'm cutting. Let's see if I can get this out here a little bit better. Now, you can measure this differently if you'd rather, but I am going to have to do a hem on it, so I'm not worried about that. Got the tip of my scissors caught. There we go. Now, what's going to happen? So you can see now this is going to be the right way up, and this is going to be the right way up. This one, I just have to finish this edge. And then on this one, I'm going to have to finish this edge, and then I'm going to have to finish that edge, and then I'll also have to do a hem on that part. But other than that, it's going to make my life easier. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. But let me just show you, if you don't have to worry about direction, brush this off. Oh my goodness, I'm making a mess. So now this is plain, it doesn't matter direction. So it's the same idea, but I don't have to do anything before I cut it in half. I'm going to give it a little shake out. I'm going to match up the edges. And once again, do a little bit of hand pressing. That will be helpful. Just a little bit of hand pressing. And then just the same as I did the other one, I'm just going to trim it this way. Once again, if you want to measure, you can do that this way. Now these towels, actually both the towels that I've been cutting for you, both came from Walmart. One's Cuisinart, one's a version of theirs. And I'll have to tell you, they wash beautifully. There we go. So that is as easy as that one is. So if you don't want to have to deal with directionality, then that's good to go. So this is the rough edge that I need to cover. So I'm going to start first of all with just a plain sewing machine, and I'm going to do a zigzag stitch, and that will help it from fraying. This end you don't have to worry about because it is going to be hidden with the crochet cotton that you're going to use, but you do want to make sure that we're not going to get the fraying. So I'm just going to take it here. I've got myself set up to do a large zigzag stitch over the edge. Find my foot pedal. There we go. Make sure we've got it nice and big. Yep, it looks good. And then I'm going to back up just to make sure it's going to be all covered. Good. And then away I go. So I'm just going to work my way across, just catching the edge. Just as you get to the end, you're going to do the same thing. I'm going to back stitch just to make sure it's locked in. And there we go. So we'll just trim this here and trim the other side. And then you can see that there's the edge. So it's nice, it's taken care of, and it's not going to fray. I've had this serger, my goodness, for about 35 years. So far, it's been doing all right for me. At some point in time, I'll need to replace it, but not right at the moment. So what it's going to do is give me some stitches that look like regular stitching on a sewing machine. It's going to overlock the edge, and it's going to take off any little bits. So the trick with this is you just have to get it started. There we go. Now, the nice thing about a serger, make sure I'm not talking when it's going, is that it goes pretty quickly. Now you need to let it go a little bit like that and then trim it so that you've got something that you can weave in. But you can take a look at that edge. That's a beautiful edge. Okay, so that's going to help out. I'd like to do that before I do the hems on the towels that were important with the direction as well. So that's the first part to do. And now we can actually work on doing some crochet. So I need to weave these ends in. So I'm going to flip the tea towel over. Now, if you don't have a serger, but somebody you know does, you could just take a whole lot of tea towels over and just spend the time doing it. I do like the serger better, but obviously you can use the sewing machine if you don't have one. So here is what I need to weave in. So I'm just going to thread my darning needle. So I've got my darning needle threaded, and I'm just going to take it under. You can see the threads on top of this darning needle. I tried to pick one that had some color so you could see the white threads. And I'm just going to take it in a little ways and just take it all the way through. And then I'm going to push it through, and I'll pull this through, give it a nice little tug, and then it's done. So then I just have to cut that off, and we're good to go. So that's the first one done. And now I'll just do the same thing to the other side. I just want to have a brief discussion about holding a crochet hook. My grandma taught me to hold it like this. So that's how I hold it. I understand a lot of people are taught to use it more like a pencil to do that. So I'm just going to let you know that when you're seeing me hold it, that's what I'm going to be doing. But it's just how I was taught. Now, the other thing is when you go to work with your crochet cotton and you're crocheting, it needs to be on the left-hand side. And what I do to tension is I go around my baby finger and then I come back and over and hold it there. So that's just how I do it. I give it once around and over. And then that's going to help me tension it when I go to tension it. So just a few things to get started. Now I'm going to need a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you bring the thread around your finger and then I just pop the end through. And there it's going to be. And so I can tighten that right up on my crochet hook and it's ready to go when I need it. I've got my awl ready to go. I'm going to be careful with this sharp tip. And what I'm going to do is start at this end and I'm going to make holes about every 1/8 of an inch. Don't make them too close together because you'll end up with a really big hole and then you probably will have to cut that part off and go finish it. So we want to be careful. So I'm going to start way over here and I'm going to do this. Now what I do is I poke it through until actually I feel it. And then you might have to do a little bit of wiggling. Depends on the towel. But I have to make sure that my crochet hook will go through. Now, if you're using a knitting needle, because I'm using a 4mm crochet hook, you should use a 4mm knitting needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work my way through. Now there's the stitching that I've done, and I'm going to go right under the stitching, and I'm going to go in. Okay, but you can see it start to collapse the other holes, so you don't want to do all the way across. So I'm just going to move over a little bit, then I'm going to make another hole. So there's 3. I'm going to make another hole. That's 4. I'm going to move over, make another hole. That's 5. Now, after you've practiced this a little bit, I often now will do 10 holes and then pick up my crochet hook. It just makes you have to go back and forth. Now, the very first one is the hardest one to do. So I'm ready to go. There's the first hole. And I'm going to stick my crochet hook through. I'm going to grab the yarn and bring it through. And then I've got 2 loops on, and I grab the yarn and take it through those 2 loops. So it's a single crochet that I'm doing. So then I move to the next one, put the point of the crochet hook through, grab the yarn, bring it through. Now I've caught part of the towel, so I'm going to undo that one. You can see it sitting right up there. It's going to cause me grief, so I'm going to go back again. So I go in and around, and now I'm through without that piece, and then around and through those 2. So I move over to the next one, around, around, up, and through those 2, through, around, and then through those. So these are a single crochet. So if you need to know what it is, you stick it through, you grab the yarn, or the crochet cotton in this case, come through, and then you go. So you're going to end up with a nice solid edge. And so what I will do now is I'll do 5 more, make 5 more stitches, do 5 more, make 5 stitches, and I'm going to work all the way across to the other end. So you can see I've worked my way all the way across. I just have a few more stitches to do. I don't want you to worry about the number of stitches that you've put in. We're going to deal with that. So don't even worry about counting. Just make the holes, make the single crochets, and then you'll be good to go. Now, I'm just going to put in, let's see how many more I've got. So there's 1 there. There's 2 there. And I think I'm just about at the end. So what I'm going to do, because sometimes this selvage edge is thicker, I'm going to try and put 2 into that spot right there. We'll see if it's going to work. So I'm going to get my awl out, and I'm going to make sure I've got a nice big hole there. So I'm just going to stick that through. Good. So it's ready to go now. I'm going to try and put 2 stitches in that spot. So there's 1, and up, and then I'm going to try and put a second one in there, because it just covers that end much nicer. There we go. You can see that it covers the end nicely. So there is that. So I've done my row of single crochet, and now I have to turn my work. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to chain 2. So it means wrap it around, pull it through. That's called a chain. Wrap it around, pull it through, and then I'm going to flip the tea towel over. So I flip it over, and now I'm going to work my way back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a double crochet. Now I don't do anything into that first spot because my chain 2 is going to take care of that, but it's the next one right there that I'm going to deal with. So I'm going to wrap the yarn around, put it through that hole, grab it again, and now I've got 3 stitches or 3 loops there. So I'm going to round it and go over the first 2, and then take it around and do the second 2. So that's a double crochet. So let's do that. So we're going to wrap it around, the yarn around, put it in that hole, loop the yarn and pull it through. There should be 3 loops. Take the yarn through the first 2, take the yarn through the next 2. Okay, let's watch one more together. Away we go. So I've wrapped the yarn around, in it goes. Grab the yarn, pull it through, wrap it around, pull it through the first 2, wrap it around, pull it through the second two. So I'm going to do a double crochet in every single crochet all the way across, and then we'll come back and see what we're going to do next. I've been double crocheting all the way across. I just have a few more to do, so I'll finish up. So around, through, one, two, around. So there's the last one. I'm going to give that a tuck and through. All right. And remember, I haven't counted these stitches. I don't know how many there are. It doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do now is do that chain 2 and turn again. So I'm going to turn my tea towel so I get to see the pretty side again. Now, normally I would go into this hole right here, but I'm not going to do that because I want to skip one. So I'm going to go around, skip that one, and I'm going to go right into here. And then once again, I'm doing a double crochet. So it's going to end up being a lacy kind of row. So I don't do anything else. I'm just doing double crochet. I'm going to be decreasing the number of stitches. So around, skip that one, go into this one. And so you can see it's going to be kind of solid and then a little lacy and then solid and lacy. So around, skip one and go through. Same idea. Next double crochet, skip that one, go here. And now I'm going to go all the way across, and then we're going to see whether we have to do anything to make it work or whether it's going to be fine the way it is. So I'm just finishing up this row, double crocheting every other stitch. Now you can see what's going to happen at the end. I'm going to be going into this one, and then there's this one left over. Now this is what I was saying is you don't have to worry about the number of stitches, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one in there. And then I am going to put one into that because we don't want there to be a dip in there. And so you may think, well, then you didn't do every other stitch at the end. Well, no, I didn't, but it's okay because it's all going to depend how I go across the next time, how many stitches, and then we're going to do another one of these rows again as well. So right now I'm going to do a chain 2. I'm going to flip my work. So we're going to see the back of the towel this time. And now I missed that one, but I'm going to go into every one. So we want this to be, this is the reason why I use cotton, because I want it to be sturdy enough so that when people are washing their hands on it, there's not going to be a problem. So we're just going to go in every other one. If it was too lacy, it wouldn't be as strong. So I'm just going into every single stitch, wrapping around. Tensioning my yarn. So wrap around, through, grab the loop. There's the 3, through the first 2, through the next 2. And I'm going to do that all the way across. I'm just about at the end of the row. So let me do the stitches I need. So there's 1. And then I'll go into the next one. And then I just need to go into the top of that chain 2 space. And then up we go. Now I'm going to chain 2 and turn. And I'll see the right side of my tea towel again. And now once again, I'm going to do every other stitch. So I'm going to miss this stitch right there. So that one I'm going to miss, and I'm going to go into the next one. And so you can see this doesn't take long for it to get easier to work. It's those first 2 rows that take a while. So there's my double crochet. So wrap around, skip that one, go into the next one. Wrap around, miss one, go into the next one. And then I'm going to work my way all the way across doing every other one. And then we'll see if we have any adjustment at the end of the row. I'm just about to the end, so let's see if I have to do any adjusting or whether it's okay. So there I am. So if I'm going to skip one, it's there. Skip one, I do there. So it's good. I don't have to do any extra stitches. So I'm going to go into that one. And then I miss that one and go into the top of the chain 2. So that one worked nicely. I didn't have to do any adjustments. Now I need to do another row of solid double crochet. So let me chain 2, flip my tea towel around, and then once again I'm going to go into every stitch. I'm going to back up just to make sure I've explained something. So let me just do that. That's the nice thing about crochet. So I want you to see that I'm missing this, but I'm not really missing it because my chain 2 is going to take the place of that one. So the first one I start with when I'm doing every other one is that one right there. So I'm going to go in, double crochet around through the hole, come back through 3 loops, through the first 2, through the second 2. And then I'm just going to do that all the way across, and then we'll see what we do next. I'm just going to finish up this row. Chain 2, 1, 2, and then I'll flip my tea towel around. And now it's every other one. So I don't use that one, and I don't use that one. This is where I'm going to go in. And we're just going to see how many we end up here with. So it's every other stitch across. And every time you do one of these rows where you're decreasing, your work gets a lot lighter. So let me just finish up that row and then we'll see what we do next. So this worked out nicely doing every other one. So I'm just going to go into there. And I'm going to just do that stitch. But we are going to take a look at what we've got. So if you take a look, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now what I really need is an even number. So what I'm going to do is I am going to decrease one along here. And the best thing to decrease is either at the first edge or at the last edge. So I think we'll see what happens. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to flip my tea towel around. And so if I put the stitch in there, then I'm going to, and do stitches all the way across, I'm not going to decrease. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to miss that first one. It's not going to make much difference to how it looks, but it's going to decrease the one stitch that I need. So right now there's 2. Nine, then 10. So 10 is perfect, and I'll tell you why. So let's take a look at what the towel looks like. So there is my 10 stitches right there. You can see it looks a little different at this end, but by the time I'm done, it won't. And I want an even amount because I want there to be 2 center stitches, because those are the stitches that are going to hold the button when I sew it. So I've got 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're in great shape. So now all I have to do is I'm going to knit my 2, it's a crochet hook. I'm going to crochet 2 or chain 2. And then I'm going to keep doing it solidly because 10 is great. It's a good number to have. So I'm going to do that for about 10 or 11 rows. And then I'm going to come back and I'll show you how you test to see if it's long enough. Now I'm just going to count the rows from the first row that I had 10 across. So that was a solid row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows. So I usually use about 11, but we're just going to double check. This is a US 35 knitting needle. So this is pretending it's the oven door handle. And I'm going to come over. That's where the button would be. And there's lots of room in there. So I'm happy with my 11. If you're not, then add a 12th row, but we're good to go. So now all I'm going to do is grab my scissors, cut a little bit so I can weave in. And then I'm just going to grab that and pull it through. Now, we need to weave in our 2 ends because I'm going to be folding it this way on my stove handle or door, refrigerator door handle. Then I don't want to weave it in on the back here. So I'm going to weave it in this way. I'm going to turn that around. And so I'm going to weave it in on this side because it's going to fold under. So let me grab myself a lovely big darning needle. And we'll pinch that through. Now the trick to this is we need to get down to where the bottoms of the double crochets are. So I'm going to have to kind of come in here. Just kind of in through there just to get myself down as far as I need to. So I'm going to pull that through. There we go. Don't want to pull it too hard because I want to change it. And then I'm just going to turn this to the side. So I'm going to go in through the 2 loops of the stitches. So there's 2, 1, 2. Then I'm going to go through these 2. It's just 2 loops that I'm going through, and I'll do 1 more. And then I'll pull that through. There we go. But now I don't want to pull it too hard. So I'm going to grab that and pull it back a bit. Now what I do, I want to come back so it doesn't come out. So there's half of the bar. So there's 2 bars sitting there. I'm going to go over the first one, but under the second one. And that's going to allow me to have something to pull against when I pull it through. I'm still going back through those two little bars of the double crochet, and I won't go all the way through, but I'm just going to pull. There we are. Give it a tug, make sure it's nice, and then I can just cut this right here. So that ends in. Give it a little pull. So that's that. So I have my end that I started with. Once again, I'm going to thread this. So what I do when the yarn's especially thick is I'm going to put it over top, pinch it with my fingers, and slide it down. And then, keeping it pinched, just put it through the eye of the needle. So there it is. And I'm going to start the same way I did the last one. I'm going to go through the first 2. And I'm just going to keep going through 2. Through 2. Through 2. You want to have enough that it's going to keep it solid when it's going through the washing machine. So I'm going to pull that through. There we go. Snug, but not too snug. Give it a pull back. And then same thing. I'm going to go over half. I'll go over top one of the bars and then through under the 2. And I'm going to do that. Come back. There we go. And then we're just going to snip that. And now our ends are woven in. This is where I usually decide buttons because you never know quite how it's all going to go together. So I had some brown one, which would pick up the gold in the towel. Not sure about that. I have a white one. It just blends in too much, which if you are having trouble matching colors isn't a problem, but I think I can do better. I have a couple of different brown ones because there is some brown here. So that, I don't think that would be okay. And then I have this kind of berry red, and I think I like the berry red better. So I'm going to be using that. And we just need 1 button. And I'm going to use white thread because I'm dealing with this white cotton. So I'm going to get that needle all threaded up, and then I'll show you how we sew the button on. There's my red button, and I'm going to sew it on right here. And the reason why I turn it that way is because I have the 2 holes and I have the 2 bars, and they're going to match up. So one thread will always go through one of the bars and the other thread will go through there. It's going to work really well. I have my needle done and threaded, and I have it knotted. Now, the reason why I've done that is because I need to have a space where I can catch the thread. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start coming in underneath. So one of those, but I'm not going to bring the thread all the way up. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to put the button on. And then I'm going to go back down through the button. Like that. I'm going to go through the other bar. And then I'm going to go through and take a look at what I've got. So I'm going to pull this up through here. And I'm just going to make sure my button's in good shape, but I don't want to pull it too tight. There it is. Everything's good. Now back to this side. So here's where life gets better. If I just pulled, this knot would go right through the crochet cotton because it's so big. So I am going to put my needle through that, and it's actually going to create a spot to pull against. So there it is. It's right there. I'm going to give it a nice tug. So now that knot isn't going anywhere. It's just where it needs to be. And so now I'm always going through that bar and coming up through this hole. Give it a tug. Make sure that thread is doing what it needs to do. There we go. And then when I go back down, I want to make sure I'm going through that other bar. And it is. Make sure that it's nice and even. There we go. So I'm going to do that another 2 or 3 times, and then I'm going to show you how the rest, I'll finish it off. The button's nice and solid, so I'm happy about that. It's centered, which is good. Now, I just need to tidy this up. So I'm going to create a knot. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the crochet cotton, and then when I bring the needle up, it's going through that. So it's going to create a knot, which gives me something to pull against. So I'm going to pull tight, give it another pull, and then I'm going to do it one more. So it ends up being a double knot. Same thing, through a few things, bring the needle up. You can see that the thread's sitting there, so it's going to create a knot. Pull it against the other one, and then all I have to do is cut that off. Now, my button's where it needs to be. Life is good. So now I'm going to take this, and I haven't made a buttonhole because I don't need to. The double crochet is just the right size. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a pull on either side. So there's 5 on one side, 5 on the other. This is a 3/4 inch button. You can also use a 7/8 inch button. It would work as well. So let's just do this and get it around so you see what it looks like. There we go. Give it a nice tug. Now, how you fold this up if you're giving it, I'll just show you that. So we're going to fold it that part way in. Fold it like that. Give it one of those, and then come back this way. And then you have a nice gift, either for yourself or as a hostess gift, or you can put it in a parcel that you're sending to somebody else. And there's lots of times during the year that you can do this. You just have to change up what kind of tea towel you're using. So there you have it. There's our lovely tea towel, all ready to go. As I said, you can change up the towel. It's all good and all kinds of times during the year. And I will tell you that we have friends that love these things. So it's one of those gifts that we either put in a stocking or put in a parcel when we're giving it. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below and I will do my best to answer those questions. I hope this new angle has helped you. I know that it is easier to do that when you're looking over my shoulder so you can actually see what my hands are doing. And please subscribe to our channel because we really like doing this for you and it helps us to be able to continue to do it. So until next time, you take care.